I guess the first thing I realized when I took that job, the thought sunk in. It was like, I don't think anybody ever at any point is ready for really anything. When it's that next step up, you always just have to take a bit of like a leap of faith. And that the thing that stuck in my head is, everybody goes through that, and if it's not me, then it's going to be somebody else. At some stage, everybody has to take a step up. How am I not qualified to take that step up? There's a great quote, I don't know if you've heard it before, and I found this sometime after, and it just really reinforced what I was thinking at the time. It says, if I'm not for myself, who is for me? And when I am for myself, who am I? And if not now, then when? That's Hillel the Elder. It's a very ancient quote, but I thought it was very, very true. It's something you really need to reflect on in terms of don't assume that it's ever going to be another opportunity. Now is your opportunity. You're never going to be ready for everything in life. What you really need to be able to do, in my opinion, is you just have to be able to jump. You just have to take that leap of faith, encouraging yourself, and you just have to start. And don't worry about where you start, just start. The other thing too, I guess I learned in that too, is that you're never qualified. That your experience and becoming or taking on the experiences in life is what qualifies you. You become qualified by the virtue of doing it. When you go for the interview, I had, and we'll talk about this, but I had lots of doubts about, like, did I lie in the interview? Is that how I got this? You don't. You become qualified by the experience, and you don't need to worry about what you don't know about. Just take the jump and just start. So, I guess another thing too, when you realize when you do jump, don't assume that it's going to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy. And I think when we think, oh, everybody else makes this look so easy, and no, not even makes it look easy. They do it so easily. You're so sure that what's going on for other people, particularly the peers at the new level that you're at, so the other heads of technology at REA, I just assumed, they made it look so easy, and here I was struggling, and I couldn't figure out even where to start. The first day I got dropped off on my desk, I'm like, I don't even know what a head of technology does. Like, what's my job? Where do I even start? I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to focus on. I don't know this team. They're all looking at me. Everybody expects me to say or do something. Where do I even start? But I think the problem is that when you assume it's supposed to be easy, what happens is two things. You're already struggling with the fact that you don't really know where to start. You're already struggling with your internal confidence issues. You're struggling with your skill level, your competence, your capability. You're struggling with stretching. To then worry about and beating yourself up about that struggle, then you have two struggles. And then if you get upset that you're upset, then you have three struggles, and it compounds. The best thing you can do whenever you're struggling with anything is just accept that it's uncomfortable. Accept that it's part of the struggle. Accept that you're stretching and just go with it. Don't resist the fact that you're feeling like it isn't easy, and just go with it. Don't keep resisting it. You have to realize that letting go is not giving up. You have to be able to say, I am struggling with it, but I'm just going to go with that struggle. I'm just going to accept the fact that I'm struggling. I'm just going to accept the fact that I don't know. I'm going to accept the fact that I feel like an idiot, or I accept the fact that I feel unconfident, and I worry about what I'm doing. Just accept it, and that's part of letting go. And it doesn't mean you're giving up. It just means that you're taking your hands off a little bit. You're stopping the pushing. You're stopping forcing yourself into everything. You stop forcing yourself to have to be the best at everything or to have to know everything. You're not giving up. You're just taking the foot off a little bit and giving yourself a bit of grace and room to move within. It's also important to realize, too, when you're in that struggle that no one knows. No one actually knows if you're struggling, I think we assume a lot of the time, too, that, everybody knows that you don't know. Everybody knows how you feel. And you feel like you're completely exposed and vulnerable, and that's probably what causes a lot of anxiety. It certainly did for me in the role. But actually, nobody really knows what's going on for you. You just need to stay cool, and you need to ask lots of questions. And by staying cool, it's a bit of bravado, and we'll talk about that. But you have to give away the illusion, if it's what all you've got capable of. Whatever, just take it as it comes, and if you are accepting where you're at, it's going to be a lot easier to give off that sort of vibe. But nobody knows what's going on inside you, and I guess the other thing too is that really nobody really even cares. There's another great quote that I've comes across my desk, time to time, every few years, but it goes, you wouldn't worry so much about what others think of you if you realized how seldom they actually do, by Eleanor Roosevelt. You're so preoccupied with everybody, and particularly when you're in a leadership position. I had gone from maybe having 1 or 2 direct reports in my past, every few years I might have somebody to sort of manage. But then I went to a team of 26. And that was a really big jump, and I felt like all the pressure was on me to deliver. I felt like all the pressure was on me to know all of the answers. All the pressure was on me at all times. Everybody was just sitting at their desk with nothing better to do but watch me and judge me and determine if I was doing well or not. But the fact is that no one actually really cares that much. They are doing their own thing, and probably most people are thinking, what's everybody else thinking about me? And everybody's playing this game about what's everybody else thinking about me and how am I performing, but nobody really cares. For the actual moments that people are actually focused on you and or judging you, it's very limited. You have a lot of freedom to be yourself. You have a lot of freedom to just relax into it and to just really kind of go along with it. Let go, right? Go along with it. There's not as much pressure on you as you think. This is part of that, when I was talking to my boss, about this, and I felt like, am I qualified? Is my team judging me about being qualified to do this role? Like, again, I had mentioned, did I lie my way into this presentation? Is that how I got there? And Richard Durnell, my boss at the time, it was my annual review, so it was about a year into the position, and the first year was just atrocious. I can't explain to you how hard it was. I was full of self-doubt. It wasn't even self-doubt about my professional competency, because again, for me, my job is just an aspect of my life. I actually started to really take a lot of it on personally. And I went through, a real hard stage in my life too with, work is hard, I don't feel valued, I don't feel like I'm adding value, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. There was a lot of it. It was a very political situation at times. And I sat down with my boss, and he gave me the review and said, you don't need to prove yourself. With you, you're always trying to prove yourself. Just do your job. You're already qualified. I hired you because you're qualified. You don't need to prove that you're qualified. You are qualified. Just do your job now. But it was this sense of me having to prove myself to other people, like other people were always watching and judging me, that I felt like I had to be this person and to do these things. And so I think it's really important when you move up that if you've got the job, you've already got the job, just let that go. Just do your job, and that job will start to reveal itself to you. But you really need to rate yourself. This is another quote that our ex-CEO at the company, Greg Ellis, had told us at a strategy conference. He said, the only person that's actually going to rate you and stand for you is yourself. If you don't do that, why would anybody else do that? And that one really stuck for me, because I think at the time I was looking for everybody else to rate me. I was looking for everybody else to, give me the feedback, etc., or to put me forward. But the real challenge I had in my job and being able to take that job on was the fact that I wasn't actually rating myself. I wasn't standing for myself and being confident in my own skin about the capabilities that I had. And part of the problem too is that I was playing everybody else's game. So I was trying to be a head of technology like the other heads of technology, and they're all very different. But I'm not like them, and I had to really understand that. Well, first of all, I had to stand for myself, and I had to also, put that confidence out. If without that, you're kind of lost. This is something I see particularly with women in IT. Men do this very well, I think. Men do this very well. It's almost innate in the characteristics of men, I don't know, but you have to have some bravado. Like if you have to have that sense of going out there and, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, it doesn't matter if I don't know how to do it, but I know I can do it. And I do see that this tends to happen more so with women, and I certainly fell a bit prey to it. You just need to go out there and conquer it, Put yourself out there. Say you can do it. Even if you can't do it, you will figure it out. You have to have that faith in yourself. But put yourself out there, stand up to it. You don't need to say you don't know. All you need to do is move your feet and find out the answers. There's really very little in life that's actually very hard to do other than what's going on in your own head. You can find information, you can put together a presentation, you can write a document, we're all educated. These are actually, in and out of themselves, very simple things to do. Yeah? But what you need to do is just slow yourself down and shut up the stupid little voices in your head that are giving you all this extra information about why you can't do it, because you can do it. and especially for women, just stand up and do it. You guys, and I am speaking to the ladies, there's so few of us in IT as well, and the nature, I think, of women I do think it tends to be very different. And while we see guys going out there and yeah, I can do it, even when you know they can't do it, that's actually an important attribute, because that's actually about your confidence. But it's even deeper than that. It's about faith, and that's faith in yourself, that you have what it takes in life to make it. So just put yourself out there, go for it. However, don't go for it for the first 90 days. There's a 90-day rule. I broke it. This was my single biggest mistake, and it cost me a lot of grief. When you start a new position, just ask questions and observe and talk to different people. Don't start your job. When you go in, say, I'm not going to be doing my job for 90 days or 60 days. You might feel more comfortable with 60 days because you're probably going to freak out because you're going to feel this pressure. Everybody's watching me. Again, nobody's watching you. Everybody's watching me. I have to deliver. I'm here to deliver. They hire me to deliver. I have this senior job. I have to deliver. I have to be seen to be delivering. That's my job. It's not your job. The first 60 to 90 days, the first 3 months, and actually it could even be 6 months, you're still learning what your job is. When I started, I felt this pressure that I had to know what my job was. I was supposed to know, like I'm just supposed to know. Well, you're not supposed to know, because what you bring into that job is part of an ecosystem, and who you are changes the ecosystem. Everything has to rebalance, everything has to readjust. The first 90 days, ask questions. That's all you want to do. You want to observe and ask questions, learn. Hey, what's that? How does that work? Ask the stupid questions. They're not actually so stupid. That was another big thing for me, is not wanting to ask questions because I felt like I should know that. There's this whole I should. There is no I should. It's I can or I will, but there's no should in any of this. Just ask the questions. I'd also say go look at your peers and tag along with a peer for a few weeks and just say, you guys, I'm not going to be around for a few weeks. The team's already gotten by without you. They can get by without you for a little while longer. Go shadow somebody else and find out what they do. Ask lots of questions. Respect the team's wisdom as well. The team that's been there, particularly when you come in a leadership position, and now people are reporting to you either through leadership or through actual management and or both, it's important that you learn where they're at and all the wisdom that they've gained by doing the job that they do. I can't stress that one enough. Respect the wisdom of the team and let them teach you. They will actually tell you what they need you to do. And you can take that on board. Certainly you're also instructive in that. But wait 90 days. You'll actually find that your job is actually quite small. And I think particularly as you get more senior, while it becomes broader, what you actually do in any one day, the things that you actually do become in some ways smaller, but they become of higher impact. And that's a really tough one to play around with. So you really have to know, that's why I say don't do anything for 90 days, because one decision you make impacts a lot of people. And because it's an ecosystem, each one of those pieces belongs to another or a broader ecosystem, in our case the REA group, that impacts everybody. So you need to know which strings you're moving before you move them. But you do have a big impact, and what you touch, even the small decisions, have a big impact. And so I'd say with this too is that you really need to find out exactly what your value is, what it is that you bring into that job to be able to change it. And that's because you need to find your mark. So again, who am I? You need to really understand, who am I and what do I bring to this team? What do I bring to this organization? What do I bring to myself? If you don't know who you are and you don't know your strengths, you're going to have a hard time finding your mark, and you're going to have a hard time actually understanding what your job is. Your job is not the job of the person that was before you. When I came into my position, I followed a really, really strong head of technology before me. We were called delivery managers at the time. But she was excellent and she was really well loved. And I felt like, well, the team expects that of me as well to be her, but that's impossible. And so there was a long struggle in that in terms of trying to be somebody else. But I had to really understand I'm not her, and it would come across completely inauthentic. And human beings can smell inauthenticity immediately, and they won't respond to you. But when you're being authentic, you're actually being quite inspiring. And it's inspiration is actually what is most important in my mind to being a great leader. You have to be able to create that vision and that inspiration, because if you're inspired and reacting and responding to the world, so is your team. Your team already knows how to do their job. What you need to do, in my case, and what my mark was was creating that sort of vision and support. In some ways, I was actually a team counselor. Most of the time, I couldn't believe it, but my job actually, to some degree, was just team counselor, keeping people aligned, keeping people's personalities in check, helping them understand what their place was, resolving conflicts between boundaries that had been created in positions or within the organization. And that surprised me, because I thought, I'd have to be making, lots of like diagrams and technical decisions. No, I didn't have to do any of that. And I think actually the higher you get, the more it becomes about people. And that for me was a really big lesson. A really important one, and I use this for all aspects of my life, don't let perfection get in the way of better. So you might be trying to, and this is quite, I guess an agile concept as well, don't go for gold plating, don't try to get the perfect solution. The only thing you need to do in any one decision that ever presents itself is, how do I get to better? What change can I make that's even incrementally better in an infinitesimal way? If I give you the smallest improvement, who cares? If it's better, we go for it. If it's not, we don't. Yeah? And that might be better in the long term or better in the short term. That's your decision to make. Trust yourself. But don't go for a state of perfection at any level. And that was the same for not only the job in terms of the decisions I was making about the job, but that was also true of myself in terms of my own journey. So am I learning myself? Am I becoming a better person myself? Don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry about being a perfect manager. Don't worry about being the perfect head of technology. You're not, but you can be better. And so just look for incremental improvements, because those over time will get you a lot further ahead than trying to get one shot at perfection and trying to nail that. Remember too, though, that when you're looking at perfection, you need to also understand it, and incremental improvements, it is what it is. You have to know where the state of things is, and you have to be able to talk about things as they are. So, for example, when I would have to make a big controversial statement about perhaps delivering messages, say we go to a management meeting and IT's come up with some estimates about a piece of work that we want to do. And the rest of the management team's like, that's impossible, how can it be 6 months? It should be 3 months. It's like, guys, it is what it is. Use the information, not your person, not the person, but the information and the facts, and rest on those facts in terms of getting your agenda or in terms of doing your job. Don't put yourself in the middle of it. You need to come from a place of being able to speak to the facts and being able to speak to, it is what it is, guys. Like, this isn't emotional. I'm not trying to make this difficult. It's not personal, but it is what it is. Yeah. When you have personality conflicts, people will say, yeah, but it should be this, or he or she should be doing this, and it's not fair, etc. It's like, you know what? Fair aside, it is what it is. That is the way that it is, and we have to start from there. So that's actually a really important motto, and that was something that once I got my head around that sort of concept of it is what it is for everything, it actually became a lot easier as well. Again, don't take it personally and don't make it personal. When we talk about it is what it is, these are the facts, I'm not making this personal, and I'm not taking it personally if you don't like it. First I assumed that when people would get upset about estimates that I had given, or this is what IT needs, or this is where the team's at, or that's just not going to work for us, it wasn't personal, and I also didn't need to make it personal. So in the beginning, I think, and this, again, I don't know if this is because I'm a woman or not, but I would often feel personally attacked by things that were being delivered. So messages that would come across very hard in really intense situations. For example, we sold off one area of our business, which was real businesses, last year. And that was a really big, complex decision. That company, that part of our business made a few $1 million a year, and we had to make a decision about whether we continued with it or not. And those are really hard and hot conversations. And people in those situations are delivering big messages. I took it personally. I assumed sometimes that it was about me, or maybe like I had missed something, or I was incapable, or some sort of incompetency within myself, or they were doing it just because they didn't like me. And it sounds ridiculous to say, but it's very easy to do because the way words can be said. And you have to remember, I'm Kerri Rusnak, but in this situation, I'm the head of technology, right? That sits in front of me. Kerri Rusnak sits behind it. Right now, I come from a place of delivering the facts and using the facts and the information to negotiate and to deliver my position. It is what it is. Yeah, well, that is the cost. I can't change that for you. But what I can do is have a conversation with you about what else we can change. Again, and don't make it personal. Like I was saying, don't assume it's you. One of the things in the beginning, too, for me was there was, kind of a weird political situation going on, and we'd come into a new management formation at our company. So we had gone to what we call a line of business formation, where the teams are now aligned by the consumer-facing sites. So residential property, commercial property, media developer property. Previously had been IT, product, sales, marketing, had all been different groups within the company, different departments. We basically went cross-functional. And so in that, there's a lot of people going, well, how does the management structure in this work? Because it became a flat management. We had, head of product, head of sales, head of IT, head of da-da-da, and those 5 people became the management team. There was no real boss in that. So you can imagine what happens. It's like a self-organizing management team that's been throwing in together, and you've got to deliver $40 million in revenue this year. Go for it, and don't fuck it up. Okay, it's difficult, and I came in just as that was happening, and so there was a lot of strange behavior. But I assumed that some of it, or a lot of it, was because of me not knowing how to do my job, and that was completely wrong. I only realized probably 6-8 months after the fact what was actually going on was that really very little about me. And again, it's part of that taking it personally. I took it personally, I made it about me, and you don't need to assume it's about you. Sometimes it is, but your first assumption, don't make that assumption. Ask the questions and observe. Don't just go there. And I went there, and it caused me a world of grief. Really important lesson I learned as well is, you need a number 2. You need a number 2 to support you and back you in whatever it is that you're doing. Simon's here. Simon was my number 2 when I started. But I can't underestimate it. It's like Star Trek, and he's got, number 2 or number 1 or whatever he calls him. But every great leader always has a number 2. And, people will say it's the woman that stands behind the man or vice versa. Great companies are known to have, a great partnership that sits at the top. That is what I needed. And part of my inability to do my job in the beginning was trying to form that number 2 relationship. And so I had 2 number 2s. Simon was one of them. And then later I also had the technical lead was another one of them. And that number 2 needs to be somebody who complements you, complements the skills that you don't have, but that you can completely and totally respect and trust, as can they with you. You are completely honest. You can have a fight with them. You're wrong, like I've had discussions that it's like, that's wrong, and you're like banging the table and you can yell at each other, but you need that. Because if you don't have that, you don't really know where you are. And that's probably one of the first things you need to set up when you actually start in any role, is have a number 2, particularly a leadership role, and form that number 2. Take your time finding that number 2. I had to also bring in, so the technical lead I actually also brought in, and it took almost a year to get that person in and find that person. But that's really, really important. Without having a strong group of people that you can unite with and protect you, and somebody's got your back, you're not going to be able to operate. That somebody's got my back is actually really fundamental. You have to feel protected and safe and secure. And when you know somebody's always going to back you up and you're going to back them up, you become really, really strong and confident. And then anything becomes possible. And I don't mean like, yeah, now I've got somebody's got my back and we can sneak around and do, naughty things in the company. I mean, I have a really hard message to deliver. I have a really big initiative. I have a really big set of changes I need to roll out. If you aren't there with somebody also saying, yeah, that's what we're doing. And yeah, no, what she said, that's what we're doing. There is no undermining. There is no question. That's what we're doing. You need that. Find that immediately and nurture that relationship. Take care of each other. Finally, have fun. Anybody great is great because it's like they just don't give a shit. They're just having fun. You're always at your best when you're in that state of just having fun and letting go. And that's why I say, like, letting go is so important. Don't worry about all the details. Don't worry about getting it right. Look for getting things better, not perfect. Don't assume it's you. Be confident. Have some bravado. Get out there, just slam it, jump. Don't hesitate. You know, just go for it. And in that, you're also going to really start to enjoy it. And the more you become yourself, the more you know yourself and reflect. Take time to reflect on who you are in all of this journey. The better and better you're going to get. Yeah, so I think that pretty much wraps it up for me. That's exactly 30 minutes, so I did an amazing job. It's exactly 11 o'clock. Yay me. Thank you very much.